Hello and welcome back, Tutorial Junkies. My name is Nims and I'm bringing something very much so requested by my fans here, and it is the Castle Gate or Portcullis. Essentially here we've got a piston set at the bottom and a piston set at the top to raise and lower this very awesome Castle Gate. This is what we're going to be building today, and actually the one I'm going to be showing you how to build works a little bit faster than this one here due to some fairly large improvements and modifications. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to need to note before we get started here is how far down you're going to need to dig to be able to start this build. So, we're going to go ahead and count here. This would be ground level where I'm placing these white blocks at. So that's 1. We're going to count the ground level. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here's the 5 at the piston, 6 at this white block, 7, and then 8 blocks down. That's how far down underground you're going to want to build. Now that you've dug out your 8 blocks underground, I want to go ahead and talk about the block types we're going to be using. White will be the expandable. It is important to note that this thing can be up to, or as little as 1 block thick, or up to, I believe it's 11 blocks thick. So that's how wide you could possibly make this gate. And in order to be able to understand how to quickly and easily expand anywhere that there's white blocks, you just expand that out and put redstone on the top. The black blocks will be the top mechanism controller, and we can see that over here. So everywhere there's the dark gray, that controls the top mechanism. See, we've got the white there. Everywhere that there's the yellow, this is the bottom mechanism. And then everywhere that there's the orange is how we, that's our input. That's our toggleable. Is that a word? Toggleable? That's our input there. So let's go ahead and get started on the build. Alright, I've got my 8 blocks dug down beneath this surface here, haha. So to get started, we're going to want to place 1 junk block that you can quickly and easily destroy. Then on top of that, place 1 piston, sticky piston, facing upward. Now for the tutorial, I'm going to build mine 6 wide here. If I could place these blocks, 6 wide. And like I said, anywhere that there's these pistons or the white wool, you can expand. So on top of those pistons, you're going to place another row of sticky pistons. Then on top of that, 1 row of non-sticky pistons. This is very important. So now we've got our sticky, and then our non-sticky. From here, we're going to place 1 row of white wool along the bottom, another row of white wool along the what is currently the top. Then you're going to place 1 junk block, again noted by the orange, then a third row of the white wool on top of that. So it should go white, then empty, then white, then empty, then 1 last row of white. Take a good look. Now on top of that, we're going to be putting all of our redstone. And then flipping over to the other side here, we're going to place a row of white, and you can see with the back as reference, right along the second row of pistons. And again, for reference. And on top of that, we're going to be adding another, we're going to be adding redstone to the very top of that. Now that we have all the white expandable parts out of the way, again, these can be built as thin as 1 or as wide as 11. Add 1 yellow block along the side of each one of our 3 rows here. Now we're going to add a monostable circuit to the very right of the bottommost white row. To do that, place 2 blocks along the bottom of your hole, then add a junk block, then another part of the bottom circuitry, another junk block, and then another block to the side of that. Here's reference. Now you're going to destroy those 2 junk blocks. Place a repeater facing inwards to your contraption. This is very important. Set it to 3 ticks. Now in front of that repeater, add a piece of redstone dust, and above that, on this top block here, we're going to add a redstone torch off the side. On the back block that is up to the butt of the repeater, add a block of redstone dust. Next, what we're going to be doing is adding our the redstone torch chain to power up the bottom here. So the easiest way to do this is actually to destroy these redstone dust off the side. Then we're going to be adding a redstone torch here. And see, that's why we destroyed the dust, so that way it wouldn't fire. Then a torch off the side of the block immediately above it. Then add a block for the bottom circuitry. Then another torch off the side of that. A torch off the side of the topmost yellow block. A redstone conductive block above that. And lastly, there's our last redstone torch. Now we can go ahead and add back in all of that redstone dust we destroyed earlier. Next, we're going to be working along the left side of the contraption. This is what I call the figure 8 of the machine. So we're going to be adding a junk block along the bottom row here. Then on top of that, add 2 conductive redstone blocks. Then destroy your junk. Then add a junk block to the side of that and another block above it. From here, we're going to add a junk block above that, 2 blocks to the side of it, and then 1 block above it. Now these all do need to be redstone conductive. Then lastly, we're going to be adding a junk block here, and then above it, another redstone conductive block. And there, that is why I call it the figure 8, because it's almost, with the exception of that block, an 8. Now to add the wiring for the figure 8. First, we're going to start out with the top row here and add a repeater facing inwards at a 1 tick delay. Then immediately below this block, we're going to add a piece of redstone. Then next to that redstone, facing outwards towards this block, another repeater set at a 1 tick delay. Immediately below that block, a piece of redstone dust. Then below that redstone dust on these 2 blocks, we're going to be placing 2 repeaters facing inwards, both at 1 tick delays. Now again, I can't stress this enough, the direction the repeaters are facing is very, very important. Above this block that these 2 repeaters are pointing at, we're going to be placing another repeater pointing inward at a 1 tick delay. And lastly, at the bottom on the lone yellow block, we will be placing a piece of redstone dust. Great job so far, everyone. We've almost finished up the bottom of the circuitry. Now we're going to spin around to the other side of the bottom circuitry and add 3 yellow blocks to the lone white path that we've already created. Now on these 3 yellow, we're going to be adding 3 repeaters, all facing inwards. And then above that, we're going to be placing 1 junk block and then a yellow above that junk block. Shouldn't have destroyed that junk block yet. Off the side of it, you notice we're spinning around. Here's our 3 repeaters. Now we're spinning around to the side, and we're going to be adding another block below it. Now you can go ahead and destroy your junk block. And from this redstone dust, to give you perspective on the figure 8, here's the side, and here's the 3 repeaters. We're going to be adding a repeater facing inwards to our 3 repeater chain. Now this concludes the bottom circuitry for the machine. So let's go ahead and fire it up. To fire that up, we're going to be placing an orange block here, a repeater here, and then, a redstone torch there, and then above that redstone torch, a block. Alright, if yours did exactly as mine just did, you've successfully completed the bottom circuitry. Now to begin work on the top part of the castle gate. Good job on getting the bottom mechanism set up correctly. We're going to go back to this orange input torch, and off the side of it, add our first top block, or our top mechanism block. Place a piece of redstone dust on top of it, and then off the side of that block, we're going to go ahead and add a redstone torch. From this redstone torch, place 1 block immediately below it. Then in front of that block, we're going to add 1, 2, 3 blocks in width. Then off that 3, the far 2, we're going to be placing another 2 square. So for reference, this is what it should look like. Now we're going to be adding a slightly different type of monostable circuit. The first thing we're going to do is add some redstone dust off the side of that torch. Then off this redstone dust, we're going to be placing down 2 repeaters. This first repeater, looking at it at this angle, the left repeater we're going to leave at a 1 tick, but the one on the right we're going to up it to a 4 tick delay. Now in front of this 4 tick delay repeater we're going to be placing a sticky piston, this is very important, facing to the inward of the machine. Now in front of that sticky piston we need to make sure that we add a block that is conductive to redstone. That is very, very important. Now off of this sticky piston you can see our placement here. We're going to add another, I believe this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks off of the side of that. Off of those blocks we just placed, we're going to spin around to the side here, add one more block to our bottom circuit. Now we're going to place one junk block off of that, and then above that another piece of our bottom circuit. Then go ahead and destroy your junk block. So for reference, this is what the bottom path should look like. Now off of this, we're going to begin work on our vertical wire. Now we're going to be building 10 pieces of this vertical redstone torch chain. So this first torch and block combination will count as 1. Now we're going to go ahead and build 10 of these. So here is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and last but not least, number 10. Alright, and I did accidentally show myself placing a torch upon this top block here. That is unneeded. From here, we're going to be adding the top firing chain for the pistons. So off of this torch here, we're going to be placing 1 block, 2, and then 3 off the side. And let's go ahead and do that for each one of these pistons, so they'll all have a 1 space in between them. Now depending on, and you can see that that lines us up with our white wool beneath. Now depending on how wide you decided to build yours, I'm building mine at 6. You're going to add 6 blocks, or whatever you used, as little as 1, or up to 11 wide of white wool here. Now on top of your white wool, let's go ahead and add all of this redstone dust. Great job, and now we need to get this redstone dust wired to something, so spinning around to the side here. Again, for perspective, this is the side that we've been working on with most of our redstone. Off of the third row, this is going to be the bottom row, we're going to be placing a redstone torch there to invert the signal, and then off of the very topmost row, another redstone torch. We do not need a redstone torch here because this signal is already how we need it. So from this point, we're going to be adding a redstone repeater on the second and third rows. Both of these repeaters set to a 4 tick delay. Again, make sure that they are pointing towards the wiring we've already established. Now we're on the third row here, off of the redstone torch, add a piece of redstone dust. On the second row, same thing, redstone dust, but then also go back one more so that way it's now touching that block. Now for the top row, no repeater. We want this one to fire first, and then add 2 pieces of redstone dust. Spinning around here, so now we are facing the back side of the machine, the side with only the 1 row of white wool. We're going to be whipping out our regular non-sticky pistons, now facing them downwards against the top row of white wool. We're going to be adding our non-sticky piston. So there's 1 row, and we want 3 rows of this, obviously, since we built 3 rows of firing chains. So it should look just like this from the back side, and just like this from the front side. Now we need to go back down and add the redstone dust from this monostable circuit we added earlier. This is nice and easy. You just chain it around and hook that up into the vertical redstone torch wire we added here. Now the top of the mechanism is ready to be test fired. Again, we're just going to be placing a block on top of this redstone torch here, And that fires the bottom. Now when this block is destroyed, it should fire the top. So now all three fired, and if it looks exactly like this after you destroyed that block, you're doing great. Alright, from this point, the mechanism is for the most part completed. What we need to do now is add four rows of a gravity affected block. This means either gravel or sand must go here. This is also very important. And now I'm going to be adding my 6 wide, 4 high column. So again, this is reference. This can be expanded or decreased depending on how wide you built yours. Now above this gravity affected block, either gravel or sand, we're going to be placing 4 blocks of our favorite gate block type. I like the iron bars. You might use nether brick fences. Anything like that will work. It just has to be some solid block that's affected by pistons pushing it and not affected by gravity. So there we go. There is my gate. This is what people will see. Now above this, you're going to be adding a solid block. You could add this as your gate, but you will probably want to add this as a solid block so that way they can't see your pistons up above. Now let's go ahead and fire the machine one more time. This will open the gate as it is closed now. So again, just place a block on top of the redstone torch. Awesome. And now let's go ahead and destroy that block, and that will close the gate. Sweet. Well done. Last but not least, we are almost done. Thanks for sticking with me. This is a very awesome and fun build. We're going to be adding our input to this. Up to this point, we've just been adding and destroying the block, but there's a very easy way of doing that instead, and that's adding a piston, a sticky piston to push back and forth. So we're going to be adding a T flip-flop. So looking at this input block we placed oh so long ago, we're going to count 2 out. So there's 1, 2, and then at the third block, we're going to be adding a input block, and on top of that, add a redstone torch. Now above this redstone torch, we're going to be placing a block like so. And this might be a T flip-flop design that you guys may have recognized in the past. I'm going to use another junk block here, and then off of this junk block, I'll be placing a piston, a non-sticky piston facing inwards to that block we just placed. Add another junk block and another junk block here, and then place another non-sticky piston facing inwards to that redstone torch and the block we placed. Go ahead and destroy your junk blocks. Above the block in the middle of the 2 pistons, add another block above it and a block to the side. Add a add a redstone torch above each piston, and then connect both of these redstone torches via a piece of redstone dust across the top. Just for reference, we're going to look at it from this side, and now from this side. Great. Off of this, we're going to be above wherever you placed this redstone torch. We need to be adding a piston facing inwards, so it would be looking at this input block that we had earlier. In front of that piston, we're going to be placing another redstone conductive block. That is very important. You're starting to see how it's all coming together now, right? I need to pull out a button so that way we can wire this up, and we're pretty much done. So we push this button off of our redstone T flip-flop, and each time we push the button, the gate will open and close. Now to wire up this button, let's go ahead and add like a little T intersection here, and then we can just add redstone here and add redstone here. Now you'd be able to take this up to wherever you wanted it. You could have this a million miles away. Just make sure you get your repeaters in, anything like that, and then just go ahead and wire up your redstone dust down into this T flip-flop T intersection we made there. And you can push this button, and you can see that'll toggle it. Go ahead and push the button again. Great job, everyone. And see, now we can go ahead and do the same thing to the inside here. So go ahead and just wire this up however you'd like off of that intersection that we made earlier. There's our button, wiring the button up into that T flip-flop. We could push this button. Let's say we're inside the base now. Awesome. Now we can leave the base, Oh, but we don't want any creepers getting in. So now we push the button on the outside of the base, and now it's closed. Oh, but there's creepers out here. We need to get back in. Push the button. Oh, it opens. Now we can run in, push the button, and all the creepers are closed out. This is going to conclude the tutorial, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please, please, please leave video responses to how you implement this. I want to see the ones that you build that are 1 wide. I want to see the ones that you build that are 11 wide. It's going to be very awesome. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. If you made one of these in your personal worlds, don't forget to like, subscribe, maybe drop a favorite. You know, all that stuff helps me, helps you grow, helps everyone. So thanks again for watching, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. I tried to make it as clear and concise as I possibly could. My name is Nims, and I'll see you tutorial junkies later.